Well, let's see. I guess it's afternoon everywhere. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Emerald City's series on capacity building series. For the next 2 days, today and tomorrow, we'll be talking to you about administrative and financial development of your local councils. A lot of this is emanating from voices from the field, hearing from you about your needs and our overall mission to ensure your viability. The strength of Emerald City's mission is really grounded in the strength and our ability to provide you the administrative financial support that you need to be successful. Today, we will focus specifically on the organizational development of our local councils. We will present to you a proposal. This proposal will be presented by our Vice President, Steve Jenkins, and it's been born out of a lot of conversations at the board level and among staff as well as research. And we look to you today to provide us with your feedback about the pros and the cons of what we propose as a charter structure for national and local affiliation. So I will be here to entertain questions going forward, but at this point I'd like to bring Steve Jenkins to the conversation. Steve?
Good afternoon, everybody. As Denise said, I'm Steve Jenkins, Vice President of Finance and Administration here at Emerald Cities in D.C. Like Denise said, we really want this to be a proposal and a conversation. We have done a lot of work and research and had a lot of discussions, but it's really you we want to hear from. And so that's what today is about. And so to the extent you can give us some input today, that's great. To the extent ideas come to you after this is over, that's great as well. But we definitely want to get your feedback. So today what we're going to talk about is the organizational structure of Emerald Cities as it relates to its national office and its local councils. So we'll move. Whoops. Might not enough. Okay, great. Okay, so let me first give you a little background, and we'll start with bullet number 2 here. As all of you know, our senior staff, at the time, Amato, John, and Kevin, went out to all the sites to talk to you all about where you were in your development of your organizations. And that happened in the fall of 2011. Some of the feedback that came back, in addition to project relief feedback, was that it really didn't seem in a lot of your minds to be a defined local national organizational structure. So we kind of took that to heart and said, well, I wonder what that really means. We started to do some research. Now I'd like to go back to bullet number 1 on this page, and it seems that our founding fathers of Emerald Cities actually thought of this well before we did, and well before we started asking questions. And in fall of 2009, they went through our legal counsel to talk about this and see what was the best structure for Emerald Cities. And they kind of stood back and looked at it, and the general counsel actually studied a model that comes out of one of our board members, LISC, to look at their structure and see if that would be one that might suit Emerald Cities. LISC has kind of an owned and operated model with all their affiliates. So most, not every single one, but most of them are basically departments within the national office. They have budget responsibilities, but they're really treated as kind of cost centers. There's a few that are actually their own 501c3s, but very few of them. And so we took that information and then we kind of went a little further and said, well, there are a lot more different structures than that. And so from January through about April, we did a lot of research, had conversations with our board, went back and forth and took their input and decided that what we wanted to recommend was something that we're calling a charter model. And also in April 2012, they gave us approval to go ahead with their recommendation and to present that to you all. And here we are, May 2012, and that's what we're doing right now. So what are the objectives of the structure for Emerald Cities? Well, as Denise said, the most important one is sustainability. We want to be here, we want you all to be here, and we want to make sure that whatever we do, it ensures sustainability for local councils, provides capacity, and also sustains the national office. We also want to protect the brand identity and promote the ECC mission. We want a structure that deliberately reinforces the value of collaboration. So we want a structure where we have a national collaborative, but also one where we have very strong local collaboratives. And then lastly, we want to make sure that whatever structure we adopt promotes efficiency, flexibility, and innovation. So what I want to do is take you through what this charter model would look like. And I'm going to, I'll share this other document with you later, but there's a document that shows pros and cons for each model we looked at. Basically, the models we looked at were, what are we doing currently? We just call that the current model, and whatever that structure you want to call that structure is. We looked at the owned and operated model, which is the one that was LISC was primarily using. We looked at a model that what if all the different local councils became 501c3s, and then we looked at one that we're calling this charter model. So what is a charter model? We really made the name up. What it really is it's really not that different than what we're doing today. It just puts a little structure around it and what we're calling some enhancements. We'll talk about the charter agreement in a little bit. What that really is kind of the rules of the road. What is national going to be doing for the local councils? What responsibilities does local councils have back to national? How do we help each other? How do we share information? Things of that sort. In the charter model, the local councils would remain local collaboratives with a fiscal sponsor, which I believe 9 out of the 10 cities right now are operating under that model. And then there'd be kind of a shared collaboration for fund development. And when I say fund development, I mean the fundraising piece, which we're all used to it in the nonprofit world of going out and get grants. But then there's this revenue generation piece, which at Emerald Cities is something we have to really concentrate on, put some models together so that we can get some what we call earned revenue, as opposed to the unearned revenue, which is basically grant funding. Can you help me with that other? I'm going to put that document up for you in a sec, and here it comes. Whoops. Yeah, okay. So now you're looking at a Word document. The reason I put it in Word, it was very hard for me to get this table. Is it okay? You should be seeing a Word document called Pros and Cons of Organizational Structure. This is the one I was referring to that shows you what we put down as pros and cons for each of the models that I just described to you. Without necessarily going through all of each line in here, I'm going to make this document available to you at the end of the webinar, along with the PowerPoint itself. But I wanted to kind of give you an idea of what our thought process was as we went through this analysis. And basically what we came down to was that the charter model, it really didn't seem to be a whole lot wrong with our structure as far as the actual structure itself. What that seemed to be a problem with is we needed some kind of rules of engagement. We needed to take more of a role on helping each other fundraise and put together some revenue models. And cut costs wherever we can cut costs. So we're going to show you how we're going to try to help you do that as well. But the one thing that I wanted to bring up to you all is I know a couple of the local councils have thought about becoming 501c3s. Really, what we really didn't want to do that at this point, because in fact, putting together a 501c3 can be very expensive to do. If it doesn't work out, it can be very expensive and time-consuming to take down. We also thought that, in fact, having separate entities would probably be a barrier to collaboration rather than enhancing it. So you can go through those. We can have a discussion on that, but take a look at that, and we can further have this discussion further. And now I'm going to try and get back to my PowerPoint with a little technical help here. Okay. So the real difference is the real difference from today's model to the one we want to go to is really only a charter agreement. We will talk about fiscal sponsorship in a minute, and then that we're going to give you some more help in fundraising, revenue generation, just fund development in general. So, what is this thing we're calling a charter agreement? All it really does is lay out the kind of the rules of engagement, most of which we're already doing. It says basically that each local council will adopt a mission that is compatible with that of Emerald Cities Collaborative, which pretty much is already the case. It says that you'll maintain your local collaborative and you'll have a local council with a steering committee. Again, pretty much already the case. It does talk about the use of the brand and the logo. We just want to, basically what we'd be doing is officially licensing the logo to the local councils, which right now that is not officially done. It's just folks are using it because it's there. So that would be an official thing. To the extent the local council decided they didn't want to be in Emerald City later, or they couldn't, or they went out of business or something, we would unlicense it back. But for the most part, it gives you the permission to use it. It gives you the guidelines of how to use it, and we want to basically promote you guys to use it as much as you can, because the more people see the Emerald Cities logo, whether it says Emerald City Seattle, or it says Emerald Cities Oakland, or it says Emerald Cities Collaborative, it helps the brand grow. Also in the agreement, it talks about agreeing to have program reviews and reports, which again, already happening with the, with Kevin talks to you guys about what's going on in Oakland and San Francisco and the like. That's really a program review. We ask you to send us reports in the grant, so you're already doing those things. The one thing that we don't already agree to do, but we want to, is we want to help each other fundraise. Because we expect that we're going to continue to give you grant money to the extent we fundraise well here, but we'd like to see kind of some matching funds happening on the local level, and we intend to put together a plan that we can all follow to try to get there. It talks about also the grants, again, nothing that's not already happening, capacity building, again, nothing that's not already happening. So there's really not a lot there that isn't already occurring. It just kind of formalizes the arrangement and talks about, probably the most detailed thing in there is probably the use of the brand. One other thing we will do, if it helps you all, is we know that there's a fair amount of the grant money that we give you, whether it's an operating grant or a planning grant, ends up with your fiscal sponsor, anywhere between 9 and 12, or maybe even 15%, depending on who your fiscal sponsor is. We would like to put together a program whereby Emerald Cities will offer to be your fiscal sponsor. Now, whether we outsource that or actually do it directly here, we haven't decided yet. But if that helps you, we want to make sure that you, in fact, have that option. So over the next couple of months, we'll be putting together that program to see if that's something that any local councils want to take advantage of. And then on the fund development end, tomorrow we'll be talking about actual fundraising, local techniques. We'll show you some revenue model information that we put together. But that's really one area that I think we all need to get better at, and from a national level and a local level. And we intend to kind of make sure that if anything is being collaborative, that is, because we all need to start that plan and sustain ourselves. And that's pretty much it. So I would like some feedback on the agreement if you all had a chance to read it, or just the concept in general. And if you want to speak, I'm told you need to unmute yourself. I'm not sure what that looks like on your end, but there's probably a button that lets you do that. They don't have to be questions. Comments are good too. I just saw a bubble pop up. It looked like Casey was saying something. Casey, I think you can speak as well as...
Can you hear me?
Barely. Can you speak up a little?
Let me turn it up a little. So generally it looks pretty good. It looks like it mirrors some of the things I currently have an official sponsorship agreement. Can you hear me? Is this a problem? I can type my question.
No, I hear you better now, but I didn't hear you in the beginning.
Okay. So I'm curious why the sponsor themselves don't have a signature line on the document.
The actual fiscal sponsor?
Yes.
Yeah, that should be there, unless for some reason your copy didn't show it. It should be, basically what we put there is because of the fact that most folks have a fiscal sponsor right now, and theoretically the local director is an employee of that fiscal sponsor as it sets out today. They need to sign it, but we'd also like to have a place where the actual local director can acknowledge as well.
Right.
So both parties, but I believe the fiscal sponsor actually has to be the signatory in this case.
Okay. Generally, the charter looks really good. I'm happy to see this kind of structure being put into place, so I want to thank you guys for doing that. I really appreciate it. And on the fundraising front, too. I have a couple of questions. The local, you want us to call ourselves local directors. I already have business cards where I'm labeled project director.
Okay. Yeah, no, the actual director title is not as important to me as the fact that you associate yourself with Emerald Cities.
Okay, great.
Okay, so in other words, I believe in some cases, I think up in Seattle we had someone called project coordinator or something. That's fine, as long as it's Emerald Cities, Portland.
Okay, great. And then I saw some sort of slightly more stringent language around what the sponsor is responsible for as far as branding and things like that, that we may want to soften, because in many cases it's the local director and the local council that's using the branding as opposed to my fiscal sponsor, the nonprofit that has their own branding.
Yeah, I think that's happy to talk about that and come up with some language that works. The intent of all that is really, it's all about you guys.
Right.
So that I know that, for instance, the city of Portland is, I believe, your sponsor right now.
No, it's a small nonprofit.
Oh, okay. And so, they're not the ones that are really using the logo. It's you all. But it was kind of tricky in that the agreement was being signed by them, and so we wanted to have them acknowledge that because they're kind of somewhat managing the project, that they were aware that that this would be a requirement. Okay,
and I'd be happy to work with you. It might just be substituting local council for a few places.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
And then I was wondering, would you be willing to work with us to perhaps create a template for the fiscal sponsorship agreement between the sponsor and the local council that goes into a lot more detail to make sure that we're sort of aligning the charter with the fiscal sponsorship agreement.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'd be happy to work with you guys on that. And that's an area that actually I've been wondering about. What does that agreement look like? And in some cases, I believe it might even just be an application of some sort to work with those guys. In some cases, it might actually be a formal agreement. So yeah, I'd love to actually see those, and then we can work with you all to help you with that.
And the timing couldn't be better for Portland because we're getting ready to renew in the next month or so.
Yeah, no, I knew this timing would work for you perfectly.
Thank you. I think that's it for now, but great job getting all this work started. I appreciate it.
No problem. Anybody else? Does anybody foresee any major problems or hurdles because we're proposing this?
I'm just turning this webinar off. It's ending.
Steve, check the chat because Tara asked a question on the
Oh, okay.
chat.
Check the chat. I can't see the chat. We don't see a question there. Who asked one?
Tara Marchant asks, what is the autonomy of the ECC Council under the fiscal sponsor? That seems to be placed.
What is the autonomy?
Autonomy of the local council under the fiscal sponsor.
So, if in fact, Tara, is the question that if Emerald Cities became your fiscal sponsor, what would the autonomy of the local council be?
I think it's just generally under the fiscal sponsor, whoever that might be.
Okay. Well, yeah. What we would like is when we talk about the local council, I'm referring to the council itself, not just the local director. And we would like the local council to kind of respond to the needs of the collaborative. When I say collaborative, I mean the local collaborative and the national collaborative, as opposed to the needs of the fiscal sponsor.
Well, and speaking from my experience, you know, the fiscal sponsor, if they agree to take on that role, they have to be true to their own mission and have to approve, you know, a variety of things with their board to make sure they're not having mission creep.
Yeah.
But other than that, as long as we stay within their realm, we should have a fair amount of autonomy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Does that answer your question, Tara?
And Tara just said she's confused. She's asking about both. So both. I don't. Can you clarify, Tara?
Yeah. So, Tara, if you can hear me, when you're chatting, could you make sure you're sending it to the host as well, because we're not seeing your chat.
Stephen, can you hear me? This is
yes. Is that Tara? Yes.
This is Avni. I have a microphone, so it helps. I think what Tara is asking is, if Emerald Cities becomes the fiscal sponsor, you know, or if she retains her original fiscal sponsor, how do you maintain your autonomy in situations where it's not already there? So, I mean, I think that there is a lot of overlap of, it's almost like treating a local council as a program rather than a separate nonprofit or a separate entity, which is what results in sort of overlap of, I think, duties for some of our local directors. I think that's what she's saying.
Yeah, I'm struggling with not hearing the whole question and not understanding it. Can you repeat that, Avni?
Sure. I think Tara, excuse me for paraphrasing you, but can you hear me, Stephen?
Yes.
You can. Okay. So I think what she's asking is, will kind of the fiscal sponsor option that the national is offering local councils, will that address some of the councils that already have a sponsor, you know, kind of delineate a little more sort of responsibilities and kind of overlap of duties? I think that's Tara's question.
Yeah, I think, well, I think what we're kind of anticipating there is if a local council chose to have Emerald Cities as its fiscal sponsor, then it wouldn't use this fiscal sponsor, it wouldn't use the sponsorship of whatever local organization you're currently using. So the only thing I could see that might come in the way of that is, you know, we're here in DC, so we give you fiscal sponsor services, but you still need a place to sit. And so that would be difficult. But, you know, we'd give you all the normal services of, you know, obviously the accounting and reporting, any of the payroll things that come in, the benefits and things of that sort. So all the things you're used to getting from your current fiscal sponsor, we'd give to you. The one thing that's kind of out there is where are you going to sit? And if for some reason, you know, if you I know you don't sit at the Tides Foundation, Avni, but if you did, that would become a problem. And so we'd have to work through it. Well, we'd have to find a place for you to sit. Either that, it would be a line item that we'd have, well, it would be a problem in that we'd have to pay them some sort of rent, I would imagine. Or no, maybe it's donated services, in-kind services to give you a free place to sit. But in fact, if you're getting that now, and then someone's got that built into whatever the indirect or overhead rate is that they're charging, we'd have to break that out.
Got it. I do have a follow-up question, Stephen, while I still have the mic. You know, Tara and I have separate fiscal sponsors, and Emerald City San Francisco is a 501c3 already in its own right, whereas Oakland is not one. So I think that, you know, part of this conversation will, for us, involve figuring out if we want to change any of that. Does it make sense to change it, or, you know, should we try to both be an Emerald City's fiscal sponsor? I guess once we look at the numbers that National is offering us in terms of hosting, maybe we can revisit, you know, our original fiscal sponsors and see if we should stick with them or if we should try to change them.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, once we actually make you, you know, a more firm offering, I would expect you to evaluate just like you would any other offering. But what we want to make sure that we want to give you an option. So if in fact you know, you feel you're paying too much today, maybe we can save you a couple of bucks. It's meant as an offering that way.
This is Denise. I just wanted to mention that one of the advantages of centralizing the fiscal agency at Emerald Cities is that, and I know several of you have challenges because you have a nonprofit organization that is hosting you, often which would impede your local fundraising. So if you are, say, in California, you're going after California endowment money for your local sponsor, it's also difficult then to go into that same California endowment and ask for money for Emerald Cities. So you could make it in the ask of Emerald Cities without violating the fundraising goals of Emerald Cities or the fundraising goals of your local sponsor. So that's one consideration to think about as well in terms of centralizing that kind of function.
And a quick follow-up question to that. Do you think centralizing the function could have any negative impact on going after local money?
Well, my experience with having worked with, and I have to say that we had extensive conversations with all of our board members, from LIST to Enterprise to the Conservation Corps, to just every board member we had operate nationally, and they all operate really quite differently. And we asked them some of these questions, and many of them found LIST Enterprise, for example, did not have any challenges getting local funds, even though they operated as a national organization with local affiliates. So we don't anticipate that being a problem based on the experiences of our board members.
Great, thank you. And just a quick follow-up. I do see some long-term advantages to centralizing the fiscal sponsorship function, just because, you know, my current fiscal sponsor is a relatively small nonprofit, and they may not want to do this indefinitely. You know, I think they're very happy to do it for a year, 2 years, maybe 3, but, you know, if this is a long-term successful endeavor, we may sort of run out of those, you know, good-natured offers that we get early on from local council. So it might be a good long-term strategy.
Yeah, I think that the more successful we are, the more of a job it's going to be a fiscal sponsor, because you'll be spending more money, you'll have more staff, all those things that happen when you grow. So I could see how that would be difficult on a small not-for-profit.
And would you charge an overhead fee? I guess you don't know exactly what it'll be at this point, but comparable to other fiscal sponsors?
Yeah, we haven't actually gone through that full analysis. What we're going to do is look to the outside and see what kind of savings there might be if we were just to aggregate a bunch of cities with, you know, for instance, you know, go to the Tides Foundation and say, hey, what would you get? What kind of rate would you give us for, you know, for 10 or 15 cities rather than just the one that you have? We'll look at that. We'll also kind of do some modeling of our own internally here to see, you know, what is this really going to cost us internally to take this on? And very frankly, in the beginning, I don't see it as a huge problem. If we ever become 50 cities rather than 10 cities, that's a whole different animal. And, you know, so I've got to kind of look at it in a scalable way. So I can't just say it's this today and it's that tomorrow. I have to kind of see what it might scale to. But obviously, we don't want to offer anything that's not going to be good for you. So, you know, our intent is to make an offer that hopefully you can't refuse.
Well, that's great. I think in the near future, you probably can't beat my current arrangement. It's $100 a month.
Ah, okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, sorry. I'm currently considered staff, meaning I'm working on staff meetings, working on vehicle conditioning, restructuring, participating in programs other than PPP. I'm wondering about that. I'm considered staff, so I feel strange to
yeah.
all that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
the question is, can you hear the question? Yeah, I mean.
So the question that we just read, Tara in Oakland just put on chat, basically says, can you read it directly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tara says, I'm currently considered staff, meaning I'm working on staff meetings, on big organizational restructuring, participating in programs other than ECC and meetings. I'm wondering about that autonomy. I feel strained between the two.
Yeah, so basically if we were to offer you a fiscal sponsorship arrangement directly with Emerald Cities, you'd become an Emerald Cities employee, in which case that would go away because you'd be our employee, even though what we would want to happen is for the guidance and direction to come from your local council. We don't want to have you know, be directing you what to do. We want that to come from the local council. But in fact, it would take away any of that rub that you seem to have now. And to me, that sounds like a question we need to talk about maybe offline, Tara, as well, because you know it seems a little bit contrary to us giving you an operating grant. But if they're sharing your salary, you know, so we have to talk that through and see, you know, if they're paying half your salary and we're paying half of it, okay, well, in fact, maybe that's okay. But, you know, we kind of have to figure out where we are on that. And I'm reminded to remind you that if you can't unmute yourself, you certainly can use the chat, like Tara just did.
As someone who reports to my fiscal sponsor, ECP and this makes a lot.
Okay. Okay. Chanel from Cleveland says, as someone who reports to my fiscal sponsor, ECC and others, this makes a lot of sense. So we'll over the short term we'll put something together, and again I'd like it to be collaborative in that I don't want to just put a proposal out there and say here's what you have to live with, but we'll certainly put something together for you to react to. Yeah, well, and right. So two things. One is what I'd like you to do is to share the charter agreement with your local council to make sure that they're on board with it, and then they'll need to agree to it as well as your current fiscal sponsor. To the extent we get to the point where we become your fiscal sponsor, again, share all this with your local council. We want everything to be totally transparent and have them involved in everything that we're talking about.
With that, from LA says, is there a preference for one model over another at this time?
For the model of the organizational structure or the fiscal sponsorship?
We are, the board has the charter structure.
Yeah, the charter structure is what our board has approved, so we're recommending that. The fiscal sponsorship it becomes a cost issue depending on what you have today, and is this a better deal and a better situation for you? Yeah, it's only intended to help you, and obviously we're looking to sustain you guys for long term. So in fact, that's where we'd like you to look at it on a long term basis, not just a short term. Yeah, I think down the road, we're going to end up having Emerald Cities as fiscal agents in most of the places. It'll probably look more like we'll call it a charter arrangement, but it might look more like owned and operated. But we do want to have that local council have the autonomy and the day-to-day direction of what's happening on the ground.
So we are just trying to share.
Sure. So we have about 20 minutes left. So first, let me ask if there's any other comments or questions. If there are not, if anybody wants to share what's going on in their specific cities, project-wise or otherwise, happy to listen and share that information. So do we have anybody on from Atlanta? We'll go through this alphabet. Anybody on from Atlanta? I think Harold, are you on?
Yes.
Anything happening in Atlanta you want to share with the group?
Trying to get assessments completed on the buildings that are in the first tranche for the Better Buildings Challenge retrofit project, and we're finalizing the, I think, selection of an executive director.
Oh, okay. So I should be seeing a operating grant proposal coming my way very shortly, it sounds.
Well, I don't want to be quoted on promising any transmission of any document or product, but
I understand.
I understand that's what the committee, the decision-making committee is doing.
You're working on it. Okay, great. Sounds good. How about Chanel? I don't think Chanel can speak to us. Is there anything you want to share via chat, Chanel?
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you, yes.
Oh, okay. So we had an We had an op-ed in the Cleveland Plain Dealer on Mother's Day with the head of the building trades and our local county councilman. We're working with the...
Oops. I think he just went away. Is he still there now? Who wants to go next? LA?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. So we recently sat down with county officials actually a couple times over the last couple months, and it looks like we will be submitting a grant proposal together to the state PUC. About $20 to $30 million worth of projects countywide have been identified by the county officials, and they are very interested in two aspects of our work. One is the workforce development pipeline, which needs to be drastically improved here in LA, and then also the finance models that I believe were established in Delaware. They're very interested in creating something like that for LA. So all that being said, we are looking to submit the grant proposal is due in, I believe, early July. So over the next month, we're working together to really shape what that will look like. So we're very excited that, in other words, projects are being identified, and we can finally get a real leadership council together that will be able to point to projects and a work plan that is tangible.
Great. And if I sort of interject on this, because it has relevance to our Northern California sister cities as well, the proposal that Lizette is referring to is actually from the Public Utilities Commission that's making $3 billion available over the next 3 years for energy efficiency upgrades. And they're making those funds available through regional energy efficiency centers, energy centers. LA is one, of which they have 55 cities signed on to. My understanding is that ABAG, and I don't have any idea what that stands for, in Northern California will be also submitting such a proposal. So LA County has accepted Emerald Cities LA as a partner in their application, particularly because they have a workforce requirement as well as a commitment to local hiring in some of the language, and they have not developed any workforce infrastructure for their regional proposal, which is actually pretty sophisticated in terms of the one-stop shop that they're putting together for their 55 sister cities. And so I would suggest that you might, and we could probably feed you information about pursuing such a partnership with your Northern California, and it has to go through the investor-owned utilities because it's their public good charge funds that are being reallocated in this new regional model.
So Oakland, Tara, can you speak? Or you?
Oh, she has a few chats here.
Okay, Oakland has a few chats we'll read to you.
Tara says, like Casey, my current operating grant has about 2 months left, so it would be good to address the fiscal sponsorship too. She also says that she's meeting with Allen Temple Church this week, hoping that it will lead to an MOU for their 2 city blocks campus. And she's meeting with PG&E and Peralta on Thursday for their zero net building development. It's a great opportunity to build partnerships with PG&E innovation projects. She's also reached out to stopwaste.org, who will likely get the ABAG grant for delivery. She can have a call with Bruce. She has a call with Bruce Burden, who leads the joint policy group that involves ABAG, NTC, and a few other agencies. That's an update some talk. I don't know, Genius, if you're on, if there's anything you would like to add. You are unmuted.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Okay, Casey from Portland.
Okay, guys. So we've tentatively, our proposal was accepted to do workforce mapping for the Edith Green Wendell Wyatt Federal Building. It's a huge building retrofit that's underway. So we're just waiting for the contract to be completed, but that'll be about $15,000 of earned income for me and Emerald City, Portland over the next 6 months or so, and a good opportunity to meet with all the apprenticeship coordinators. We also were included on a recent collaborative proposal to the Oregon Department of Transportation and the Bureau of Labor and Industries to do some special equity and workforce projects on their large-scale transportation work. So our piece of that will be relatively small, but another opportunity to do some of that collaborative fundraising and earned income. We're on the threshold, hopefully, of applying this community benefits agreement that's been in the works with the building trades, as well as the carpenters and operating engineers and our local minority contractors and community partners for longer than I've been at the table, for about 1.5 years. And it sounds like the city of Portland is getting ready to apply that agreement to a big city project. It's not official, but hopefully I'll have good news soon. And then just working to put together that draft 3-year plan so we can get it to ECC before your June board meeting. So.
There's nobody from Providence on, I don't think, right? Okay, San Francisco?
Yes, Stephen, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. San Francisco, I did follow up with the City and County of San Francisco, who are in fact recommending to ABAG the kind of projects that they can use, propose for the pilot for 2013 for the $3 billion CPUC money. They seem to be very focused on specific programs, and I didn't quite hear what Lizette just said, like let's partner. So I'm still following up. Maybe this is more of a regional push that Tara and I can make, maybe with someone like Bill. I spoke to someone in the city, in OEWD, who handles their energy stuff, and it just seemed that it didn't go anywhere, that conversation. That's my quick update on that. In other news, we did sign an MOU with City College a few weeks ago, and we have also just received a green signal from National to get some TA dollars to deploy resources on 3 projects that we're simultaneously working on, which is City College, the San Francisco Housing Authority, as well as the Mission Housing expansion project to retrofit the remaining 43 buildings that they own. So we're just getting started. We're going to plan some kickoff meetings in the next few weeks. We do have an exciting few months ahead, and we're also pushing with Oakland to become a more regionally recognized, brand, and also creating more of a policy push for us at the regional level. So that's what we're up to.
Sounds great. I don't think we have Seattle represented, do we? No? Okay. So did we miss any city? No, I don't think so.
So I just want to close off this session by just thanking each and every one of you for the hard work and amazing work that you're actually doing. I'm very impressed with the scope and the size and significance of all of the projects that are underway in each of your city regions, and look forward to continuing to support your efforts. And I'm just amazed at how much a little bit of blue has gone a long way, and our hope is to actually give you a pound of blue so that you can really take this work to scale. So tomorrow, please join us at 3 o'clock at the same time as we start really drilling down on how to sustain your jobs and your vision and your mission of building healthy and green and economically viable communities. Thank you so much. Thank you, Steve, for this work to this date, and we look forward to talking to you and finalizing this charter arrangement with you in the future.